I think most people who've been here for a while around the university, familiar with Coach Daugherty. Many of you are familiar with me as well. Todd Ickow. I've been around the university for well over 3 decades, as has Jim. We're spending a little time talking about Jim's thoughts on his days at the university and congratulating him. And this is kind of a special Hall of Fame day for me. It's always one of my favorite days of the year. But one thing that's great, we've got Jim, we're going to honor Ren, and I've walked the halls of the Arc for over 3 decades. And this is a special year where we have 2 people that we're honoring that were there for all 30 years that I've been around. And Jim, I want to start with that because a lot of people come and they go. And one thing you did was you stayed, you had great success, you had success early on, you had success even at the end of your career. Let's start with maybe the beginning, what brought you to the university, and then we'll talk a little bit about your success throughout the years. But how did you end up at Valpo?
Well, Todd, I'm a big fan of you, and I'm not, I just have to say that just because I want to say that my wife can vouch for this. When we watched the basketball teams on TV, we turn off the volume on the TV and turn on the radio, listen to your comments.
This is why we got you in the Hall of Fame.
Anybody else do that? I mean, this guy made it every game exciting somehow. But so anyway, it's an honor to be here with you. Yeah, the beginning, you know, it was great to see Bill Steinbrecher here. Bill, he hired me in, and I was just going to do a camp on the courts, asked, you know, if I could do a tennis camp during the summer, and he says, well, let me see your resume, and then I was like, oh gosh, I got to put together a resume for this. So I did, and he came back to me, he says, would you have any interest in coaching tennis, you know, here, and I thought, wow, that might be pretty cool. I was teaching tennis at a club at the time in Maryville, so it's kind of transitioning between jobs. And when he told me how much I was going to get paid, I was like, I'm not sure I can afford to do this. But anyway, so that's kind of how that got started. I do want to say something early on. Bill Steinbrecher, I really cherished a moment when you called me into the office, and usually, I mean, I was pretty nervous because, you know, I don't know, but you asked me what some of my goals and aspirations were, and I want you to know how much it meant to me. You know, we talked about Kalamazoo College, and I know you remember, because, you know, I thought, you know, I wanted to try to get Valpo high prominence and national prominence, and also talked about, now I kind of feel weird about saying this, sorry if I'm using the father of tennis in this area, but that was the young me then wanting to be, you know, that I guess. But years later, Bill, I think you're retired or near retirement, says Jim, I think it's safe to say you're the father of tennis in the area, and that's after a lot of growth and so forth. So anyway, just wanted you to know how much that meant to me, and the hope that you couldn't deliver on everything that it was, you know. So how far of a tangent am I?
No, you're good. Let's talk a little bit about the growth from where you were when you first came in, and then you started having success and the growth of the program in those early years, and then to where by the end of your career you had even greater success. But how did that happen?
Well, you know, the department, I have to give them a lot of credit because I got more resources. Which helped with recruiting and everything else. Mark LaBarbera's era, he was able to get me more scholarships. Thank you, Mark LaBarbera, for that, and other resources. So that helped a lot. I think, as Charles was saying, that my players, the relationship, I don't know if I did a lot of character building, because they did come in pretty good. But the relationships were pretty solid. I just enjoyed myself with them, and I think they did a lot of the recruiting for me. Like, hey, we're having a lot of fun here. I hope not too much fun. But anyway, so I don't know if there's a magic formula for that.
Obviously good players, and
Yeah.
and I think the program got a big boost in the early 2000s when Nick Coyers came in, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk to him in a moment, but
Yeah.
that was a big boost to the program at that point, bringing in a
Yes.
player of that caliber.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Nick is a perfect student athlete. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he got more academic money than he did athletic. The difference with Nick is, I don't know, he's very intense, extremely competitive, but in a very good way. Very valued, but at the same time, you'll see Nick in a minute. He's not 10 foot tall or anything. Sorry, Nick. But I'm just saying, he's a giant killer. I tell you what, I've seen him, and I won't go through the whole Flagler college match, but you remember that? Yeah, anyway, that was just one of many examples of the match coming down to his match. I didn't have to tell him because everyone's converging on his court, and he knew it was tied at 3-3, and he's playing a full scholarship player from Russia or somewhere who's like grooming for the Pro Tour. He's behind in the match, but he knows he needs to win this for the team, and somehow he finds a way. I don't know how else to describe it, but this is the luck that I've had with student athletes, that come to Valpo.
Okay, we're going to talk to Nick about that. A rocky moment beating the Russian. Well,
Yeah, yes.
But before we go, we've got to talk about in your final 5 years, how the program even moved to a different level, and Charlie and Jeffrey and those unbelievable years, 16, 17, where you kind of vaulted the program to where it received national recognition. That had to be special, late in your career to do that.
Yeah. What a thrill. A lot of new experiences on the national level. Probably the most memorable one with Jeffrey and Charlie, and there were several, is when we went to the indoor nationals, because they didn't get in initially. So they were crushed. So anyway, we got a wild card. A week later, got a call, a wild card to get in the tournament. We're jumping up and down in my office when I called them in, and just because they got into the tournament. As it turns out, they knock off top national players, top #1 team in the nation, Cal, get to the finals, lose in the finals. But what a ride that was. Yeah, so that was a little different experience, going down the home stretch, so it was wonderful.
All right, Jim. I'll let you know on a personal level, I miss seeing you walking down the hallways. So stop in the Arc from time to time when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Always great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Jim Daugherty, everybody.